What up, guys? My name is Chris. This is Wheelhouse Trading, and welcome to the Wheelhouse. So we're going to get into it. Everything from the ties with Sam Bankman-Fried to Gary Gensler. We're going to talk crypto.com. We're going to talk Bohemian authorities. Where is Sam Bankman-Fried? Did he take down Terra Luna, Celsius 3 Arrows with contrarian stop hunt rise trading? Did he give money to Alameda that was lost? User funds due to leveraged gambling plays? Was there a shell game to use balances from BlockFi and acquisition to cover up the hole in FTX's crypto empire? We're going to talk about all that and more. Before we do, hit the like, hit the subscribe, select all, make me a comment, and we have a Discord with a great group of people. The link is in the description. Please come in and let's get started. And of course, we have a major hack. Was it internal? Was it external? If it was external, maybe this hole was created over time with smaller amounts being depleted and they just found out. But then again, if the passkeys are constantly changing, you would need root access and have to be an insider with those constantly changing passkeys, which leads us to believe this was an inside job. So right here, it says, Sam Bankman-Fried is under supervision in the Bahamas looking to flee to Dubai. Dubai does not have extradition back to the U.S. So it's understood that Sam Bankman-Fried and two former FTX associates are currently under supervision by the Bahamian authorities. FTX former CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, co-founder Gary Wang, and director of engineering Nishad Singh are understood to be in the Bahamas and are under supervision by local authorities. While the plan was made assuming that the United States doesn't have any extradition treaties with the UAE, the nations signed a mutual legal assistance treaty in February of 2022 to work against criminals. Now, it's my understanding through research that all four of these high-level executives, which would be Caroline Ellison of Alameda, Gary Wang, Nishad Singh, and Sam Bankman-Fried, knew about the movement of money from FTX to Alameda, the loss in leverage trading, and the stop hunt rises in counter trading, which created the collapse of Terra Luna, BlockFi, Celsius, and 3 Arrows, knowing the liquidation prices, and then to come in and try to purchase or have ownership in these companies, knowing, as an example, BlockFi had money left, and if Sam Bankman-Fried could crush the company and then come in to buy it and move that money over, it could create a potential way to block or create some form of cover in a shell game of the hole that had already been created due to the leverage loss using user funds. Let's read some more on this. Right now, 3 of them, Sam, Gary, and Nishad, are under supervision in the Bahamas, which means it will be hard for them to leave, said the source, who asked to remain anonymous. The source has also revealed that Ellison is currently in Hong Kong, adding that means she might be able to get to Dubai. However, community member Coin Bureau cited his source in the U.S. government to confirm that FTX members attempting to reach Dubai will get detained at the airport and sent straight back to the United States. A similar theory was discussed as part of a 16-hour-long Twitter space by the Crypto Roundtable show host Mario Nafal, with a guest speaker claiming trusted sources have witnessed Bankman-Fried in a locked space with authorities in Albany Tower, a luxury resort located in New Province in the Bahamas. You got to give a shout out to this Mario Nafal. He's been working tirelessly in Twitter Spaces. I believe this is where Elon Musk had joined in the conversation, and he has done a lot. In fact, I believe he even flew down to the Bahamas to try to get more on the story here. So a lot of people are working very hard, trying to keep everybody up to date on what's going on as the story develops. You got to give a shout out to BitBoy Crypto, Altcoin Daily, James at Invest Answers, several of the employees that were inside of FTX, and many more, of course. You got Crypto Banter, You have a lot of people in the crypto Twitter space, and this Mario, is trying to figure out what's going on as well. This is a very deep story. There's a lot to talk about. It's still developing. We don't know the full effects, but it does not look good. Rumors that Bankman-Fried had been arrested on the tarmac at Bahamas airport made the rounds on November 10th, with evidence suggesting that Bankman-Fried's private jet had been grounded for 40 minutes while on the way to Miami from Nassau. On November 12th, rumors then pointed to Bankman-Fried having landed in Buenos Aires in the early hours of the day after Twitter users tracked the coordinates of his private jet using the flight tracking website. Later in the day, Bankman-Fried, in a text message to Reuters, denied speculation that he had fled to Argentina, claiming that he was still in the Bahamas. The former FTX CEO is at the center of one of the industry's biggest scandals. We're talking Enron. We're talking Bernie Madoff. We're talking Lehman's. This is big, guys. We should be scared. And again, your crypto should be in your own wallet with only you knowing the keys and seed phrases. Keep it protected right now. I'm personally scared to plug into any exchange to trade. I'm personally not sure if the ones that are profitable, if I should get on real quick, sell, and get it out, or even if I should take some losses on some things. I'm still mulling it over personally, and at this point I am just staying off exchange until the dust settles. We don't know if there's going to be continued collapses with other exchanges, and we will talk about that here shortly. So let's keep reading this. It's a really good article. A report from the Wall Street Journal on November 9th suggested that the U.S. Department of Justice and Securities and Exchange Commission are investigating the collapse of the crypto exchange. The Department of Financial Protection and Innovation in the state of California announced November 10th that it will open up an investigation as to the apparent failure of the exchange. Approximately 130 companies inside of the FTX group, including FTX Trading, FTX US, and Alameda Research, started bankruptcy proceedings on November 11th. Wallets tied to FTX and FTX US have seen $659 million in cumulative outflows over the past 24 hours, according to Nansen. Collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX reportedly faced a series of unauthorized transactions over the weekend, prompting several warnings from users and analysts against interacting with its mobile application or website. Again, you do not want the FTX app or it in your computer, okay? Wallets associated with FTX saw roughly $266.3 million worth of outflows on November 11th, according to analytics firm Nansen. FTX US, a separate entity operating in the US, was reportedly drained of $73.4 million. So from my understanding, $153 million of this that was moved really quickly to an Alameda old wallet, and then moved from Tether to Dai, because Dai cannot halt just one wallet but the whole network, and then moved over to Australia, where custody laws are different due to entity laws. Okay, and there's also some coin I've never heard of that was involved in the transition of this hack, which is called Boba coin. So we should look into that more. Okay, back to what they're saying here on the hack. The magnitude of the alleged attack appears to have intensified overnight, with net outflows from FTX and FTX US totaling $659 million, according to Nansen data journalist Martin Lee. This represents roughly 1/3 of the wallet's net outflows over the past 7 days. We've seen over $2 billion in net outflows from FTX International and FTX US over the past 7 days, of which $659 million, 33%, happened in the last 24 hours. Somehow, no congestion or long wait times when the wallet was getting mass drained. So that's interesting that everybody's halted, yet this was able to move freely, indicating somebody had root access or the passkeys themselves, indicating insider job. FTX General Counsel Ryan Miller confirmed November 12th that the transactions were unauthorized and that FTX US had moved all remaining crypto into cold storage as a precaution. So yeah, there's like forensics looking into this. You know, if you take a lot of money out of the exchange and you move it to another crypto in another country that can't be halted, and you start separating it to different wallets in small increments to blend in with other transactions, and you have, you know, 1, 2, 300 different wallets, the privacy keys, and, you know, can utilize that money, which most likely is the money, the last bit of money of user funds to pay people back. It would be insane if Sam Bankman-Fried and its cohorts at FTX actually collapsed. All these major companies leveraged user funds at Alameda, collapsed the whole crypto market, has mass contagion, files for bankruptcy, and then steals the rest of the user funds internally. Now, there's also another potential situation here that it's not internal, that this big hole has been created by a user hack that's been bleeding them out, and they are just horrible at noticing the amounts of money coming out until recently, now that it's a $10 billion hole. However, how could they do that, since I've heard that FTX is constantly changing their passcodes, and you'd have to be a pass holder of those wallets and have root access to do it, which again indicates an inside job. So as far as the hack over here on CoinDesk, FTX has been hacked, crypto disaster worsens as exchange sees mysterious outflows exceeding 600 million, which we just talked about. Developers are scrambling to create a new version of the on-chain liquidity hub that has no ties to Sam Bankman-Fried's burning empire. Okay, over here, this is Plaid, and if you're not familiar with Plaid, an example would be your bank, such as Bank of America or Chase, or crypto exchanges such as Coinbase, use Plaid and to verify funds while you're making a deposit after you've registered, okay? I made an urgent alert in my Discord last night, letting people know that this was going to hit the news in a few hours. I got information on this quickly because I knew somebody that was with Chase that received an email before this had emerged. And here we are the next morning, and there's articles on it. So let's take a look at what this is. So Plaid suspends ftx.us access to user data after concerning reports. US-based Twitter users had been reporting suspicious data access requests from FTX US to their bank accounts. Plaid is a fintech company that facilitates communication between financial service apps and user banks and credit card providers. In FTX.US case, its products enable users to allow FTX.US customers to connect their bank accounts to the FTX app. This would then allow FTX.us to request payments that will be processed by the ACH network. In a pinned tweet on November 12th, Plaid announced it has suspended FTX's access to Plaid products as of approximately 6:30, meaning that FTX can no longer retrieve any financial information via Plaid. So what I want to say about this is, because there was a hack, whether it was internal or external, that information through this Trojan horse might be infecting Plaid, which was the intermediary between FTX and people's banks, and have that information. And now people's bank accounts, not on FTX, but their actual bank accounts, are being drained. And this has already started with some people at Chase Bank. So this is a pretty big deal. You're gonna want to get the FTX app off your phone. You're gonna want to get the FTX out of your history, your browser. You might want to wipe all your computers, have separate networks for your financial stuff. So it says right here, Plaid suspends FTX and access to Plaid products as of 11/11/22. This is important, guys. You need to have the FTX app and anything on your computers removed, most likely wipe, most likely change all passwords, And Plaid is used in a lot, it's used for a lot. Basically, it's an intermediary app. So, as an example, Coinbase, who used to use it, or maybe still does, they can verify after you sign up and you want to deposit, they can verify through Plaid to connect to your bank to verify you have the funds before they start the transfer. Well, if that information and that bridge to your bank is hacked via a Trojan horse and people's bank accounts are being drained, this is very serious, guys. Not just losses on FTX, not just venture capitalists, not just hedge funds, not just contagion, but now a bridge through Plaid into your own bank. So please be careful. Let's see what Wendy had to say, one of the founders of Huobi Exchange, about Sam Bankman-Fried and Three Arrows Capital.
So when Three Arrow got bankrupt, the one of the biggest who made this happen is Sam. So as an exchange, Sam is the CEO. You are third party, right? You are not supposed to do anything to do with your users, with your clients, because all the users' activities, you have everything on your exchange. You have all the logs, all the analysts on that. But what Sam does is he did the counterparty of certain clients, of certain users. So what he did is he do the counterparty and he make all the deals, all the futures, all the preps, liquidation very soon. So he made a bunch of money, become a counterparty of Three Arrow, all the way until Three Arrow got bankrupt. So all of this, CZ knows very well. I knew it because I heard from one of the very good friends from CZ. So that's why I think that at the very beginning, so CZ was trying very hard to protecting Bitcoin price.
Does Sam Bankman-Fried still have his afro? I don't know. There are some pictures surfacing that maybe he shaved his head and looks a little bit different. Of course, we have Elon Musk and his bullshit meter was redlining. Let's see what they're saying about that. Right here, Elon Musk reveals talks with Sam Bankman-Fried. My bullshit meter was redlining. Everyone was talking about him like he was walking on water and has $1 zillion, Musk said, of the now disgraced Bankman-Fried. And that was not my impression when he spoke with him. Elon Musk didn't waste any time jumping into the Twitter fray after an apparent hack of bankrupt crypto lender FTX drained hundreds of millions of dollars from company-controlled wallets. Elon said, to be honest, I'd never had heard of him, but then I got a ton of people telling me that he's got, huge amounts of money that he wants to invest in the Twitter deal. And I talked to him for about a half hour, and I know my bullshit meter was redlining. It was like, this dude is full of beep. Musk also told listeners that they should keep their crypto in cold wallets, not in exchanges. And that's what I've been saying to my Discord group and here on YouTube as well. That's just smart right now, guys. The speculator collapse of FTX until this week was one of the largest and seemingly most regulated exchanges in the world. Hasn't turned Musk off from crypto as a whole, has not turned me off from crypto as a whole. However, I am designing a plan. I am just personally scared to plug into any exchange right now. I do have a couple that I could sell that are profitable. I do have a few I could sell with barely any loss at all. I'm still deciding on what I want to do. I will tell you right now, I am not worried about Bitcoin or ETH surviving this. I do think it's going to take a long time. I do think there's going to be a lot of regulation. My mind jumps to the worst of the worst sometimes. I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but we will have to see what a regulatory framework looks like. It's interesting to me that Sam Bankman-Fried and Gary Gensler were working on regulatory frameworks, and it leads me to wonder if Gary Gensler was just knowing that these guys were young and that it was going to all fall apart and give him the ammunition to build the framework that he wanted, or if he was truly in cahoots with Sam Bankman-Fried working on a framework that worked for the SEC, the government in the US, and a beneficiary of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, to monopolize the CeFi industry within crypto. So right here, FTX owes Miami $16.5 million for arena sponsorship cancellation. That's just the cancellation fee. This was like $1 billion contract for 20 years. And from what I understand from somebody that works inside of FTX, had said the way that this worked is it was an elevator process where it was $120 million up front for year one, and then it would increase all the way through the 20 years. So they didn't have to put it up all up front, the whole $1 billion, but there's a lot owed, right? So it says right here, the contract between FTX and Miami-Dade County says FTX must pay the county 3 years of fees in the event of default. And I'm also hearing that they are going to sue and are quite upset over there at the county in Miami. So that should be coming very, very soon. FTX owes Miami-Dade, the owners of the facility formerly known as FTX Arena, $16.5 million, according to a contract signed last year between the bankrupt exchanges. So according to the contract, the $135 million deal is amortized over 19 years. The contract also says that in the event of a default by FTX, which includes an insolvency event, the exchange will be liable to pay 3 years of the contract fees within 60 days after paying $14 million during signing of the contract. FTX will now be liable to pay $16.5 million for the subsequent 3 years. If the payment is not paid within 10 business days, the county says it has the rights to charge 12% interest per annum until the payment is made. Just that alone, nobody's going to come in and save, because that alone by itself, compartmentalized, not even with the 100 other things that are going on, nobody is going to want that. And of course, if we want to look at today's prices in crypto market cap, the global crypto market cap is at $831.66 billion. That is better than the $794 billion it was 4 or 5 days ago, although it has decreased in the last 24 hours. But over the last week since this story broke, it has gone up. Now, Bitcoin still around that 16,500, Ethereum at 1222. I mean, all the cryptos are hurting. I have seen some movement on some, such as Sushi Swap, Chiliz has had a little bit of momentum, but others like Solana and Ape are getting wrecked. Matic is down low, not as low as where I first bought it, but it's definitely where my second buy was. So yeah, I mean, the whole crypto industry is suffering, and how far that goes, we don't know. Let's take a look at the crypto bubbles on the day. Yeah, so it's a mixed bag. Look, CRO right here down 24.7, that's crypto.com. You know, they accidentally sent 400 million to Gate.io, which they work with, and it was sent back. But there's also, some strange things. When they released their balance sheet online, saying that they would do proof of reserves with MerkleTree, we found out that 20% of their balance sheet is held in Shiba. That is highly risky. All of crypto is going to struggle. And you could see here, SBF disgrace could make things awkward for Gary Gensler and the Democrats. Remember, Sam Bankman-Fried donated over $30 million to the Democratic Party, kind of like Goldman did to pay for insurance, who got bailed out in the financial crisis when Lehman's didn't.
Now take this guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, who actually goes by SBF in the crypto world, so let's call him SBF. The interesting thing here is he actually bought protection. He played the old Goldman Sachs pre-2008 game. You'll remember this. Goldman Sachs paid for a lot of protection from the government to pay out. It's like an insurance policy when it matters most. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, that's why Goldman Sachs got bailed out while Lehman Brothers didn't. Well, SBF appears to be playing a really similar game. He's a top donor to the Democratic Party, even as his exchange was going bust. Yet there's one small nuance to this, Tucker. I think they might actually go after him and punish him anyway. And here's the funny part, not a lot of people know. He actually had pledged up to $1 billion in donations this cycle and next. So there were actually a lot of Democrats upset with him that he only gave 30 to 40 million. So if they do go after him, it's because he didn't buy the gold-plated insurance policy.
Now, on Crypto.com, crypto experts allege Gate.io and Crypto.com could collapse like FTX, accident or proof of reserves. Crypto.com cold storage revealed a suspicious transfer of 320 million Ether worth 404 million to Gate.io. Now, the CEO of Crypto.com assured traders that the transfer was accidental. Funds were to be moved to a new cold storage address. Experts allege that the transfer helped Gate.io show its proof of reserves of user funds shortly after the transfer. Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX exchange collapse highlighted the importance of proof of reserves for centralized exchanges when confirming the availability of funds on Crypto.com. Cold storage information revealed a suspicious transfer of 320,000 Ether to Gate.io. Gate.io completed its proof of reserve audit shortly after, arousing suspicion of experts and analysts on crypto Twitter. Gate.io finishes proof of reserves after receiving 320,000 ETH transfer. The FTX collapse has raised concerns among crypto traders regarding safety of user funds in exchanges and cold storage. Exchanges started publishing proof of reserves to steer clear of the issues that surrounded FTX exchange. So it sounds like Crypto.com sent this money accidentally to Gate.io, who then was able to show proof of reserves, and then it was sent back. So there's a lot of shifty stuff that we have to keep an eye on here.
Unfortunately, it's going to now be conflated, and there's a very high possibility that the fallout of this will be new legislation. Hopefully decent legislation, but there's a strong possibility that it won't be. As members of this industry, we're just going to have to live with it, and we're going to have to figure out ways to integrate and deal with it. But this is unfortunately the consequence when you have people who don't know what they're doing get into positions of power and trust and create cascading and catastrophic damage. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If you look at the financial relationships that FTX had, as we go down the list, it could create a cascade of insolvencies. Now, I do believe this is not going to kill cryptocurrency. I do believe that our industry will be much stronger in the future, and I do believe that our best days are still ahead of us. This said, I do believe that unlike Mt. Gox, unlike Celsius, unlike Luna, and past events, FTX does have the unique property that it could end up being the straw that breaks the camel's back and changes, at least in the short to midterm, how cryptocurrencies work in America. In particular, changes the appetite lawmakers have for giving the industry a pro-growth freedom mandate. We could look at a world where non-custodial wallets are no longer permitted in the United States. We could look at a world where every cryptocurrency except for Bitcoin is labeled a security and forced to comply with onerous regulations which will rob them of liquidity and not provide any consumer protections or investor protections. It is also a possibility that we could see a mass consolidation of the regulated infrastructure in this industry towards the hands of just a few players who will then form an oligarchy, which is not possible to displace and will basically end the American cryptocurrency marketplace as we used to enjoy it. Now, I'm not saying this will happen. I'm saying that the probability of these types of things happening is now greater as a direct result of the failure of FTX. The reason being is that unlike Celsius and Luna, the principals at FTX had a direct relationship with many politicians in Washington, D.C. Already on Twitter, you may have noticed many pictures of politicians, mostly on the left, but some on the right, and Sam Brinkman and his cohorts. He made no small deal out of the fact that he was dumping millions of dollars into elections and into influence and lobbying to try to push through specific legislation. That meant that there are a lot of politicians who now don't want to have that relationship, and as a result, will probably try to scrub it by becoming unnecessarily harsh on cryptocurrencies.
Bye.